came out wonderful. When you see it, it looks tall and square. It's also an optical illusion. It's actually an hourglass bottle, and the labels are hourglass as well. If you put two of them together, you can see there's a gap in the middle. And most of the label is white, so it looks literally like a soldier standing at attention. And it's got tall, square shoulders, so it has a trim waistline. There's all kinds of military Easter eggs on the label, but, you know, that's why we designed it to be the way it is. All kinds of symbolism. In fact, if you hold it in your hand, wish I could show it to you. If you hold it in your hand, there's actually a little bulge in the middle, so it feels good in your palm. And to me, I humbly suggest that that's kind of like the same grip as you find on an AR-15. Because you feel that grip. So it's all psychological. It's all about the brand and the image, and everything else supports that, even if you don't even know it.
I love that there you put so much detail into not only the bottle, but like you said, the label as well, where a lot of people would just kind of be like, okay, this is our label, this is our bottle, let's, you know, keep going. You want people to actually spend the time to not only enjoy what's inside, but enjoy the capsule of it, and also what is, you know, on the front of it as well.
Yeah, when I do tastings at the stores, people say, okay, give me a shot. And I say, sure, give me 30 seconds to tell you about the bottle. And they're like, oh, I just want a shot. It's like, no. You know what? You're going to have to listen to my 30-second spiel if you want a shot. And then when I'm done, they go, this is really cool. Thank you for telling me about it. You know, it's not like anything I've ever had before. This is so cool. I'm glad to buy a bottle. You know?
Yeah, there's so many, I think, brands and things that are just so much better whenever you hear the story behind it as well. Like whether that be music or anything to drink or even sports in general.
Right. Well, like I said, everything we do is for a purpose. You know, I really didn't do this to make money and to sell out. You know, it wasn't at all. It was to make enough money to make a profit to support the charities that we want to support. So hopefully, you know, in my mind, it's good karma, and it's, you know, a virtuous cycle upward instead of the spiral downward. You know, we want to spiral upward. So that's really what we're all about.
I mean, it's true. I mean, plus, like you said, your goal is to help others in any way you can, and obviously, you know, by doing this, you're doing that for others as well.
Yeah, and we have so we're doing podcasts all over the place. I've got my YouTube channel too, where I'm doing more veterans stories about folks. Some of them are tough. I've gotten some letters that actually, you know, if I read this one, it'd make you cry. But one gentleman I know, he spent 3 tours in Fallujah and tells me all about the ups and downs. I'm telling you what, it was brutal, but I mean, you just got to, I don't even know the guy, but I love him, you know, because just to be able to do that and come back home and have the family issues and losing, you know, half of your platoon in Fallujah and going back 3 times, it's just amazing. I mean, you know, so it's really important that we don't forget about everybody after the fact. And sadly, you know, a lot of them are forgotten about, and so that's kind of why I'm here. It's like I'm never going to stop talking about it.
And tell us what your YouTube channel is so people can hear some of these stories.
Oh, sure, Big Stick Bourbon. Big Stick Bourbon on YouTube. Yeah, there you go. Easy enough. Yeah.
I love that you're doing that as well, because you are very correct that it's unfortunate that all these men and women get sent over to wherever, and afterwards they're just, like you said, just kind of forgotten about it. It's like, you know, they don't think about the loss that not only impacts them, but their family, their friends, everybody beyond that.
Sure.
And then the men and women that do make it through, you know, like you said, some of them might lose some of their troops, and there's this thing of survival guilt, and it's like, well, why did they lose their lives and I didn't? And all this other stuff. And obviously the mental health that goes in with all of that. Like, it's unfortunate that there are so many men and women that are just forgotten about, and they walk around us every day and we don't even think about it.
So one of the things we did, obviously aside from the traditional charities, we're part of the Houston Veterans Chamber of Commerce, and they started an educational fund. So that once they first started it, and early in the year, Dave is the founder and president. he said, hey, we're starting an educational fund because, when veterans come home, they want to found a business. They know how to
Mm-hmm.
execute, but they really need help in sales and marketing. So I said, sure. So we wrote them a check for their educational fund so they could give them, business education and sales and marketing classes about here's how you go sell yourself. Here's how you can, proposition a customer to say, I'll make you a deal. I'll do this, you do that. Here's an introductory offer. Try me, for a few $100s or a few $1,000s for my services. Then if you like it, then we can, move to a more formal arrangement. Something like that, just to get people into it because, God bless them. They know how to execute. You tell them to go march down the road, turn left, turn right. I'll do that 100 times over, and you can trust them to do it. But going out and trying to find a customer, in this marketplace, that's tougher than it sounds. Doesn't matter if you're a plumber, a roofer, electrician, a marketing, a website guy or whatever, it's all the same. It's a brand new skill set and none of that's taught in basic training. You're not taught how to sell to people, make friends and influence folks. That's not your job.
Right. Yeah. And even that is, even if you hadn't gone through the military, it's hard for just normal people because some people
Sure.
are natural talkers and can actually connect with people and talk with them about literally anything. And then there's some people that just clam up and that fear of rejection just really brings a lot of people down and they just can't do it. And it's unfortunate.
Sure.
And, it's really just like, it's just facing that fear of that rejection of like, yeah, you might get rejected 1,000 times, but that one time that you get a yes is going to be better than any time that you got a rejection. Obviously, and then also on top of that, anytime you do get a rejection, you got to learn from it. Be like, okay, what did I do wrong? What can I fix next time? And then go out there and execute it better the next time.
So, my best advice, any veterans out there, it's like join your local Veterans Chamber of Commerce, talk to somebody else till you're blue in the face. Because let's just say you need, as an engineer, I know numbers, right? Let's say, maybe it's 1 out of 500 customers will say yes. Well, guess what? Maybe today's not your day. Maybe you got to talk to 500 people. Maybe you can talk to 50 people a day. You need 10 days worth of talking to get your first customer. Just suck it up and go for it, and just play the numbers, just like it's Vegas, If that's what it takes to get your first customer, then keep a notepad, talk to 500 people, see what happens. What are your odds? Learn the numbers because if you're new at it, you're never going to know until you get to the laws of large numbers. So talking to 5 people, I promise you, ain't going to do it.
Exactly. Now, back to the name Big Stick. So obviously it does have to do with the stick that is inside the bourbon, but obviously a lot of people will bring it back to Teddy Roosevelt. Is there that connection to Teddy Roosevelt?
Well, Teddy Roosevelt, obviously, we looked at that and we thought about that. The Rough Riders and this and that, and he's a legend, obviously, in the Texas marketplace because, he solicited his Rough Riders in a hotel in Central Texas, right? That's how it started. So, but at the end of the day, I thought about my mission, and my mission is to celebrate the military, not politicians.
Right.
And so, I thought about that and I said, you know what? I'd rather have somebody from the Army or the Navy be my spokesperson than a celebrity or a music person or, yada, yada. I know a lot of folks are getting into it, the celebrity business, and they may be very successful. God bless them. But you know what? I think we're missing something. We need to really honor and celebrate the people that are just grunting it out every day, doing stuff and getting dirty and getting shot at and traveling to strange places. And, you meet them when you come home in the cafe. It's like you buy them a cup of coffee. It's like, oh, I did all this stuff. Or, it's like, wow. And that kind of thing. It's just, surprising. You never know what you're going to find when you start talking to people. And
That's
so,
also
those
true.
are the kind of folks that I really want to, keep people, remembering.
That's awesome that you're doing it that way. I really love that. Because, so many people can, slap any celebrity or sports person connected to an alcohol or whatever, and they associate it with them. But if you're associating it with real people, and then you go out and enjoy that product with real people, it just makes it so much better.
Yeah. And it's genuine. It's sincere, and that's the whole
Hmm.
point. It's like, we'll make a profit. We'll reinvest in charities, and that's great. But, I think what I love the most is when I talk to customers and they say, yeah, my uncle was in the Marines. My dad was in the Army. And you start to hear stories. I met a great guy this past week in San Antonio. I'm going to interview him. I mean, all kinds of things. He was a chaplain. He was
Mm.
he wasn't a fighter pilot per se, but he was pilot trained, but he couldn't get rated because you're a chaplain. But he associated all kinds of fighter pilots, and we're sitting there for half an hour telling stories. It's just amazing. Just cool stuff.
That's so awesome. Now, the process that you guys use is similar to double oaked whiskey. Can you go into that process a little bit?
Sure, absolutely. So obviously, the bourbon's aged approximately 3 to 4 years old before it's bottled. So it is aged in the barrel prior to bottling. We fill it up legally to the 750 mils before we put the stick in. Some people have asked, do we do it before or after? It's like, legally, we don't want to cheat somebody out of a couple mils, worth of bourbon.
Right.
We fill it up to 750 first, and then we put the stick in. So it's slightly overfilled. If you look at the bottle's not designed for that, but that's why we chose an extra heavy, thick bottle to support that. So in case in the hot summer heat, the bottle's not going to explode because our bottle is super premium glass. It's thick as can be. Nothing's going to affect it, right? So we put the stick in, and then a double oaked, well, the difference between ours and a double oaked is when you take bourbon from the first barrel and you put it into a second barrel. The second barrel is almost always used or spent. They call it spent. I'm an engineer. I'm a simple guy. That means used. Okay. So if it's been used before, my question is, how much extra flavor does it really have? So the answer is, it may have some, may have a lot. It's a crapshoot, but the fact of the matter is, it's not first use. Well, we're different because we literally go to the mill here in Houston. We buy furniture grade wood. It's literally the best wood you can buy. We sort every one before it's in the bottle. No blemishes, no knots, no nothing. And it's charred, obviously. When you put it in the bottle as a second use and then you seal it, you have nothing evaporate. So in a normal whiskey barrel, it's organic wood, and you would have evaporation. So what happens there is that's called the angel share. You lose a percentage of the alcohol and flavor. Well, anyone will tell you the first thing to evaporate is angel share. That's just normal. So it's possible that a 10 or 12-year-old bourbon can taste kind of bad and more like charcoal because so much of the angel share is evaporated. And again, it's just, where it comes from. So sometimes the older bourbons aren't always better than the younger ones. The optimum age is anywhere from 2 to 10 years, I think, in most cases. And that's, my humble opinion. So just depends. But then on top of that, so when we seal it, we keep the angel share the second time around. We don't lose that. So you don't lose the finer flavor components. We actually trademark, we make the angels thirsty. So I got to make up some T-shirts once in a while, but yeah. So what we're doing is you sealing it in. The second time you keep that angel share, and literally it's like 5 shades darker. After a month or two, it turns 5 shades darker, and it also adds all kinds of flavor. Because like I said, with the wood sugars and the aromatics that are in there, it's just incredibly rich and flavorful. So it's like anything else you've ever tried. And I've gone up against bourbons that are $200, $300, $400 a bottle, and people say mine's better.
Wow.
So. And again, a lot of my friends who are in business told me I should raise my price. It should be $100 a bottle or more. And I said no. And the reason it's no, it's not because we can't get it. It's because that's not my goal. My goal is to make a reasonably priced bourbon that military families can enjoy, and they can't afford $100, $200 a bottle bourbon.
Of course.
And that's not right. I'm not trying to soak anybody. I'm trying to say I need to make a fair profit so I can keep staying in business. But at the same time, if I can't make a profit at $29 a bottle, that's not what we can't do that either. So it's mid-priced.
Right.
But definitely way under $100 a bottle. Yeah.
Yeah, as you should. You can't be, obviously people put some, bourbons, wines whatever spirit on this kind of pedestal on this, obviously they say top shelf, and they think, oh, well, if it's this much, it has to be like amazing.